last episode, we had finished chapter 1 and covered it up to verse 1.47. And if you're still here listening to this, I believe you belong to one of the 4 kinds of people, as I described below. In chapter 7, verse 16, God explains the kinds of people who pray to Him. And you probably fall into one of these categories. Let me tell you about verse 7.16. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritinah Arjuna arto jigyasu artharthi jnani cha bhartarshap. So Lord is saying to Arjun, hey Bhartarshap, which is a name for Arjun, there are 4 types of people who pray to me, and all of them are good-hearted and righteous people. Who are these 4 types? The first type are those who are in pain or facing troubles. Artho means they are suffering or distressed. The second type are the curious ones who want to know more about me, Jigyasu. The third type are Artharthi, those who are seeking material gains and benefits. The fourth type are those who are wise and knowledgeable, Jnani. So since you are still here, you are likely one of these 4 types. I'm sure you know which one resonates with you. Let's now move. We had finished chapter 1, and before introducing chapter 2, I want to cover the key verses that influence my understanding of the Gita. At this stage, it is important to talk about Shruti and Smriti. Back when we were kids and reading school books, we were all taught about Smriti and Shruti. Just like any regular child, I would simply memorize the explanations and answer in the exams. But only much later, I really understood what Shruti and Smriti mean and how they are different. In Sanatan Dharma, we hear the terms Shruti and Smriti quite often. So what are these? Shruti is something that has been revealed. It is the eternal truth about the universe. For example, the area of a circle is pi r square. This is a universal truth. Or E is equal to mc square. This is a universal truth. In Sanatan Dharma, the 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Atharva Veda and Yajur Veda are believed to constitute Shruti. Smriti is different. It is an interpretation. So whatever was revealed as Shruti is subsequently analyzed, explained, interpreted and processed. And that is Smriti. Smriti includes things like the Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc. For example, Ramayana is a Smriti of sage Valmiki, while Ramcharitmanas is a Smriti of Tulsidas, though both talk about the life of Lord Ram. So Shruti is a revelation and Smriti is an interpretation. For example, Manu Smriti is a Smriti. It is pertinent to note that one can differ from an interpretation, critique an interpretation. We can critique Manu Smriti. But a critique of Shruti is not possible, since it is a universal truth and has been revealed. This is the difference. Many people argue that Gita is a Smriti because it has been described by Sanjay. But I disagree with this. For me, Gita is a Shruti because it is a running commentary of the live dialogue and discourse on the Mahabharata battlefield between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. There is no interpretation or analysis here, or any processing of the information by Sanjay. So I consider Gita as a Shruti, and this is my view. So if Gita is a Shruti, then what are these episodes that I'm doing? Well, these episodes are a Smriti. These are my interpretations of the Gita. These are shaped by my preferences and biases. And which verses in the 18 chapters of the Gita I give importance to and get influenced by. While doing this narration, obviously, I have read multiple interpretations of the Gita. In episode 1, I had listed the interpretations that I have read, be it by Paramhans Yoganand, Swami Prabhupada, Mahatma Gandhi, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan or others. The one that has influenced me the most is the interpretation of Paramhans Yoganand. You would have noticed that I refer to him quite often in my discussions. But his version is from the perspective of an ascetic, someone who has given up day-to-day life. However, I am just a regular person living a normal life like most of you. My version is influenced by Paramhans Yoganand but it's quite different also, because I'm talking from my own experiences and how I see things. So before progressing to chapter 2, it is essential to describe the sets of verses that influence my interpretation of the Gita. And overall, these are 4 sets of verses. These 4 sets of verses influence this Smriti, or this interpretation that I am presenting. Today, I will cover the first set of verses. Let's start with the verse from chapter 5, verse 5.15. Na adatte kasyachit papam na cha ev sukritam vibhuh agyanen avritam jnanam ten muhyanti jantavah. The message in this verse is that God doesn't keep track of the good things and bad things that a person does. God says, I am not receiving or recording or keeping accounts of the good and bad deeds done by individuals. Only those that are deluded and can't tell the difference between right and wrong say God keeps such a score. Paramahansa Yogananda also says that God is not an accountant. God doesn't keep a record of the good and bad things we do. Such concepts have emanated from the desire to organize society, to guide it towards the right things and stay away from wrong things. So when God is used to drive social order and harmony, such interpretations emerge. But God himself doesn't play the role of an accountant, keeping track of what everyone does. Paramahansa Yogananda says, God has given us a free will, the power to choose. Unlike animals that act on instinct, humans have a free will, the freedom to make decisions. So the choices you make determine whether you are happy or suffering, whether you understand the eternal truth or not. God isn't sitting there with a calculator, and God is not an accountant. So when someone says, do good things or you will end up in hell and face the horrors of hell, that's not really accurate. Because even in Gita, God is saying something very different. This verse really shapes my thinking, and I wanted to share it with you because it's important. There are a couple of other verses in chapter 9 that further reinforce my view. These are verses 30 and 31. Let's listen to verse 9.30. Api chet suduracharo bhajte mam ananyabhak sadhurev sa mantavya samyak vyavastito hisah. God says that even if someone has done terrible deeds in the past, but then gets on the path unto me without being deluded or distracted, he or she is also a sinless person and is considered well resolved. Verse 31 is Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigachati kaunteya prati janihi na me bhaktah pranashyati. Such a person will soon become virtuous and attain eternal peace and salvation. Hey Kaunte, which means son of Kunti and is a reference to Arjuna, remember, my followers will never be destroyed. God is saying that a past evildoer, if resolved and pursuing the path to me, undeterred and undistracted, will soon become sinless and find peace and salvation in this life. My devotee is never destroyed. This also supports my view that God doesn't keep score of our good and bad deeds. Whatever is meant to happen, good or bad, will happen in this life itself. And all the discussions about the righteous battle between the positive and negative forces in the righteous battle of everyday life is to find this lasting peace in this life. These verses really shape the way I think. Now, what's the importance of achieving eternal peace? Adi Shankar, you may know, revived Hinduism. He also revived the Bhagavad Gita that many had forgotten, and he also wrote a commentary on the Gita. His most popular verse from Nirvana Shatakam addresses the question of what is God. And this is encapsulated in the verse Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham, which means my form is eternal bliss. I am Shiv. I am Shiv. You can listen to this on YouTube, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. It's about 5 to 6 verses and really soothing and insightful. In summary, God doesn't keep records of our good and bad deeds. He's not an accountant. All actions are in this life, and it is the choice of an individual to do actions unto God or not. If undeterred, you will attain a state of Chidanand, eternal bliss and peace, and in this life. And this is true for everyone. Thank you.